Good afternoon, and we are at the South Carolina Water Resources Conference, and I'm Donna London. And today we're speaking with Dyke Spencer. Dyke, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Donna.
I know that you are the director for the Powerdersville Water District,
That's
if I
correct.
understand correctly, as well as the past chair of the Water Utilities Council.
That's correct.
Tell me about the Water Utilities Council and why that's important in this conversation that we've been having today about water planning.
The Water Utility Council is kind of the legislative voice of all the major water utilities across the state of South Carolina. It really branches from American Water Works Association, the local state chapter, but there's a separate council that's set up, and we meet about bi-monthly during the year, kind of keep abreast of what's going on in Columbia, in the State House, and anything that's affecting our industry. We try to talk through it and make sure that we go back to our own districts and talk to our delegations and make sure they know how we stand on things. So.
And in terms of the conversations within that group, I understand that utility companies of all types, electric as well as water utilities, have to plan ahead. And I'm wondering what you're hearing from your constituents as well as your colleagues in terms of the planning that you're doing, but perhaps not having enough information from the things that are going on outside of your borders, particularly in the area of growth.
Right. What you'll find across the state from a water utility standpoint is most of your major utilities, and I'm not just talking the large ones, I'm talking about anybody that's being proactive about their business right now, are pretty good about planning for anything that they know about. And we have to operate our businesses like that. I mean, we pretty much run our businesses off of water revenues we sell by running water through your water meter. We have to be very frugal with the way we spend money. We're public agencies, we're nonprofit. We work for public boards usually. I have a 9-member board that's appointed by the governor that I work for. The electrical utilities operate very different from us. They're either co-ops or they're private companies, that can make a profit and are in business to make a profit, and they typically are very large entities, and so they have enormous staffs to work with. I have 21 employees that work at my place. Now that's not probably an average size water utility, it's a little bit small, but not everybody has hundreds of people to work for. I think some of the frustration we feel as public water utilities is that we do our best to plan, and we expect the same thing from our state agencies. And water planning, I'm sorry, it falls on the plate of Department of Natural Resources, and that's just the way we're structured in our government. And DHEC needs they're in the permitting part of that water planning process. So it takes both of those agencies doing their job to do an effective job of water planning. But you know as well as I do, their staffing has been cut back and their funding's been cut back over recent years. That's becoming increasingly hard for them to do that job of water planning. But we're kind of the opinion, well, you can't let it just fall off the table. You've got to pick it up, do something with it. And I think that's what you're sensing from a lot of the public water utilities now is that, well, if you don't have all the staff and the funding to do it, then maybe we can all join arms and do this thing together.
And that was the question that I wanted to ask you. We talk about joining together. At the same time, we also are very much aware of transparency and who pays for what, and what does this mean for them? Do they get special favors because they contribute? What is your idea in terms of the potential for different parties to come together to pay for a planning process?
Right. Well, we've first got to build better trust than we have right now. And what I mean by that is the agencies that are doing the planning and the permitting have a concern, and it's a legitimate concern, of having a permittee, someone they would hand a permit to for surface water withdrawal in the state, sitting on the group that plans for water in the state. In other words, like if I give you a permit and you're in here kind of planning for your own permit, it's self-motivated somewhat. we got to get beyond that. I mean, I understand that concern, but I think there is enough genuine concern in this across the utilities, and really I'm talking power, water, all of us now, all of us that use water. We've got to do. We have to start working together, and we're going to have to. In this day and time, nobody has the funding they really want, and some have more than others, but when you can do public-private partnerships and things like that, there's all kinds of neat ways to do this, and other states are doing it right now. We wouldn't be the first one to do it, but I mean, maybe there is for example, we sat down one day and did a calculation. If we did a water tax of some type, let's call it an aqua tax, and
or a fee.
A fee. It could be
more palatable, but still.
It could be a surcharge on water bills, whatever. But we believe that needs to be applied to everybody that puts an impact on the resource of water.
Sure.
So a simple way to do it would say, let's say the public water utilities put up a third, the power utilities put up a third, and then the state agencies and agricultural put up the other third. And you say, why in the world do you pick those groups? Well, those are the groups you need at the table. They
Right.
really are, and everybody needs to have something at stake. But that would give you that reoccurring funding source that I think you need to do good water planning. Water planning is hard to do when you don't know if you have money to do it with next year. So
Sure.
that would always be a struggle. So
And the idea of a plan is worthless unless you have the tools and the protocols
That's
and
true.
the continued assessment of how you're doing.
It is.
over time.
And I think in time we would learn to kind of break those walls down that keep us from doing those type of things. We would build relationships, we would build trust. Maybe I'm being naive, but I really don't think so. I think this is all doable. We got to roll our sleeves up and do it. That's what we have to do. So.
And there was some discussion this morning about that we can't do anything until we have economic development, but as we discussed, that isn't necessarily going to happen unless you can provide some assurances to your potential recruitees and new industries. So that will be an important aspect of that.
It will be. I mean, that's the comfort that I think a lot of public water utilities are looking for right now. We're being asked to fund a lot of things right now, and when you start trying to fund infrastructure for new growth of economic development that's happening all over the state, it goes right back into our customer rates that we charge our customers. Sure. And I mean, you got to. That's a tough job to do that every year.
I'm sure it
with
is.
With pipe renewal and everything else that we're doing, so I think our mindset is that we got to do some planning so we can have that economic development.
Sure.
I mean, the infrastructure has to be there to support it, and we have to provide it. So.
And then the one other thing I wanted to ask you about, we speak frequently about water being part of this whole system, and I talk about a physical system, but at the same time it's part of Department of Agriculture in terms of ensuring that we have food to eat, from tourism to ensure that people want to continue to visit South Carolina. And it just goes on and on. Do you foresee that if there is success with this model that we might see more integrated planning?
Yes, and truthfully, I just think we have a unique opportunity in South Carolina. I mean, most of the time our size is a detriment to us, but our size is actually a bonus here because we're small enough to get our arms around this thing. We already have the relationships that are in place for the people that need to be at the table. We're at this conference together. We all know each other. And we got to build some more trust. The data is probably there that we need. We've got to decide, what data pool we're going to use. We got Clemson University in our own backyard that is a land-grant institute that has the Strom Thurmond Institute for Policy Making for Water. There's an incredible resource sitting right in our lap.
Right.
They have the Intelligent River Project that we've heard about this morning that Dr. Eidson's team's put together, that's internationally acclaimed stuff. That's not just something in our state. That's something that can make this state probably one of the best water planning areas in the world. And the opportunities are there. And, you know, we see millions of dollars go through our government every year, and we just got to find a few of them to go with water planning is what we got to do, and it's that important. I mean, what else can we live without water? I mean, it's tied to everything we do. So.
Well, it certainly does require some priority setting, and after this conference, I'm very optimistic and at least very hopeful that we will see more of that occur. And I really want to thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Donna. I was glad to be here.
I've been speaking with Mr. Dyke Spencer. He is with the Powerdersville Water District. For the Jim Self Center on the Future, I'm Donna London.